All right, so I was working on a dial-in video, but it's coming out. It's not coming out the way I want it to. So what I'm gonna do is we're just gonna do what every. I'm not gonna say creatively bankrupt, but like creatively broke at the moment, and just do tier list stuff, tier list content. Doesn't mean you're like terrible or anything. Just it's lazy. Is the point I'm trying to say is it's lazy. So while I'm working on the thing that I actually want to be working on, we're just gonna do this real quick because I haven't been here in a while, and it's always good to kind of sanity check where you're at. Because obviously I can't. I mean, there's nobody in this game unless you're a whale who can pull every unit. And even if you are a whale, I think you just wouldn't want to pull every unit. I don't think you'd like every unit enough to go pull for them all, right? So anyway, we're gonna go over this and see how these how everyone is and all that. Ignore all my 20 million tabs up there. I mean, that's like light work compared to some people. Also, don't pay attention to this update symbol. It's fine. But anyway, yeah, we're just gonna go over where the meta is at right now and what the Pridwin guys are saying. So we're starting off with tier 0. Apparently Miyabi's on fraud watch. That's crazy, dog. We're in an interesting time where Miyabi is like considered sus. Um, I think the fact that like Dialin is out and it's boosting Yishuan so high, because now she has like 3 ults per stun window. Like that's ridiculous. Um, is one of the reasons why Miyabi she's not falling off, but like Miyabi. Well, I actually I don't know. Yeah, I don't think Miyabi can't use Dialin. Like she's an anomaly unit, so if you want to use Miyabi and Dialin, you might have to do like Miyabi, Dialin, and like Orphe and Magus as like a third, and just have her be off field doing whatever she does. That doesn't sound like a good combination. Like I said, I don't have Miyabi, so I don't really know what you can and can't do with her. But at the very least, like I said, I think the fact that she can't use Dialin is the main reason she's like we're looking at her with a little bit of a side eye. But yeah, I think Yishuan originally it was like Miyabi was the highest, and then Yishuan was under her, and people were side eyeing whether she should be on the level of Miyabi. But now that Dialin is here, and Lucia is here, Yishuan is undoubtedly just probably the strongest DPS in the game with this combination of her, Dialin, and Lucia. I'm not sure who else can compete with her, but that's just me. Um, Orphean Magus here is a surprise because her best team is, I think, with Sambi. I don't have Seed, so maybe it's actually her best team is Seed, Orpheus, or Orphe, whatever. I don't know. It's still surprising to me that she's at the top. I don't really. My other question is she good with other units? Like, can I run? Like I said, can I run Miyabi with her, or like who pairs good with her? That's boosting her this high, right? Because like I said, I want her, and for me, she's this valuable. But that's just because she makes the Sambi trigger team so unbelievably good. But like, where are they valuing this? You know what I mean? That's what I'm wondering. Like, maybe you guys can tell me. Like, would you guys put her here? Because me personally, like I said, I don't have her, so I can't say much. But I feel like I'd put her down just because of how specific she is to Sambi or Orphe. But maybe again, since I don't have her, maybe I don't know like, oh, there's combinations you can do with it. I just haven't seen a lot of talk about her ever since. Like after she came out, it's like I never saw any discussion about Orphe after she was released, right? So the fact that she's up here at tier 0 is kind of interesting to me. Um, I do wonder like where's this coming from? What's the evaluation? Maybe we can see there's a summary here somewhere. Review ratings. Good on field inactive damage, low skill floor because all she does is do off field stuff. Easy to build. Uh, top tier animations. Okay. Inactive animations, limited powerful synergies, release. And she doesn't have a good. Yeah, she's not very good primary DPS. I'm not gonna read all that, but let's go see teams and synergy. Okay, so Seed and Soldiers are Ambi are the top 2, obviously. Paired with these 2, obviously that makes sense. Yeah, so see, this is what I mean. Like, this is what's kind of confusing. She's like again, the only 2 people they recommend here is Sambi and Seed, and neither Sambi nor Seed are very good anyway. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I would just put her down to 0.5 along with them. Once you put all 3, like, here's the reason I'm saying this. If you're gonna put Orphe in tier 0, but her only teams are Seed and Sambi teams. Sambi goes from being tier point 0.5 to tier 0 with Orphe, right? So why isn't Sambi also in tier 0? You know what I mean? Like if they both need each other, or Seed as well, right? Seed and Ambi are kind of interchangeable. But you know what I mean? Like if these units are tier point 0.5 because Orpheus puts them there, because without Orpheus, they'd probably be tier, well, with Sambi's changes and the way Seed came out, I'm sure they'd still be tier point 0.5. Anyway, the point being is Orphe is only good at point 0 because of these teams, and she doesn't even do the majority of heavy lifting in those teams. She just brings these teams up. So my question is, if her only teams are these people, and these people aren't tier point 0.5, how is Orpheus tier 0 above them, right? So my thing is I would just put her on tier point 0.5, but that's just me. So I don't know what's up with that. Obviously, Vivian's probably the best anomaly unit we have. We're going to have to see what the changes to Bernice is going to bring. Um, I don't think, maybe I'm wrong. I don't have Bernice, so I can't say from experience, but I feel like even with her changes, that her buffs coming up, I don't think she's going to compete with Vivian anyway. But I could be wrong. So we could see what ends up happening. And then obviously these four, the usual suspects. I mean, normally it's these three, the usual suspect. These are the three best supports in the game, which I found kind of funny because there actually aren't that many supports. Like these three, these two, and that's it. Those are the only viable ones. She's not viable because pen ratio isn't really a high stat priority right now. She may become a lot better later on, but not only that, but electricity isn't very good, and she just doesn't have very good buffs in her kit. And okay, it's not. I mean, it's obvious. She has such little attacks, not even funny. But there you go. That's all the supports, and like out of all the 5 stars, they're all up here. You know what I mean? So I just thought that was kind of funny to me. Let's go back to what we're doing here. So yeah, obviously the 3 supports for the 3 different categories: attackers, anomaly, and the sheer force, whatever damage and all that, rupture agents. There you go. Man, water. Yeah, so obviously these 3. Dial-In is here. Obviously everyone's been hyping her through the moon for a good reason. I agree with all of them. She supports better than like all the other support units in the roster. She like, if you were to take away her stunning capacity and reduce her stunning capacity to the same level as these supports, right? Make her stun values and daze values the same as these, she would be maybe just as good, if not better, than some of these supports. You know what I mean? Like she's on par with them, even if you took away her daze potential. Then you throw her daze potential on top of that, it's ridiculous. It's not even like, it doesn't make any sense. But whatever, you know, it is what it is. If you could make another tier tier -1 or whatever, I'd put her above. Like I think she's better than all 3 of these. Especially because how universal she is. She can like buff. I want to say probably I don't have Astra Yao, so I can't say this, but like on the same level as Astra Yao, but she can also do it for rupture and for attackers, right? But again, maybe somebody who has both of these can correct me and tell me. Like if you had to choose one and you can only choose her between her, I would probably choose her, but that's just me. Yeah, I don't know. The point is, she's just insanely strong. She can't replace Yuzuha because Yuzuha is anomaly focused, and anomaly is the one thing Dial-In can't do. Thank goodness, right? Imagine. I mean, it's kind of good, but kind of bad. Like, imagine Dial-In is also just broken for anomaly teams. Like, it'd be crazy. But yeah, so yeah, Dial-In, these all make sense. I agree with all these placements except for Orphe. I'd probably knock her down a little bit because again, the only team she buffs are Sambi and Seed, and on her own, she doesn't really do a whole lot. So I'm not really sure what's going on there, but man, it is what it is. So let's get down here. Anomaly's looking kind of anemic. Um, she's kind of an anomaly, but her main thing is just damage. She just gets all kinds of damage. Um, she's kind of the only, like, her as an anomaly support. She makes other anomaly units better. Um, so she's like the only main anomaly unit here, where that's her main job is to be the main driver. So it kind of sucks that we don't have a good anomaly unit up here. That's the main driver. Again, she is, but we were thinking that Alice would be up here still, but the fact that like obviously the best team in the game, I think it might have changed, but around her release, she actually outperformed. The best team in the game was Alice Jane Yuzuha 222 team, but I think the fact that it is a 222 team, um, keeps Alice down here because without those mindscapes, she's just a pretty good unit. Um, what else? So I guess we'll start this way. Like I said, I think she's here. I think this is fine. Evelyn is fine. Um, with her buffs, obviously she's up here. I'm glad that her buffs put her in line with Seed. So it's more just it's not so much one's better or worse than the other. It's just like which one do you prefer? Um, and then Anomaly again. So she's here as she. One of the cool things about Yanagi, she can either be a main driver or she can be a support Anomaly unit, like force disorders from someone else. Is this the entire? Yeah. Okay. So Apex. These are the best characters in the game. Yadari, I haven't used her very much. I kind of know what her kit does vaguely, but I haven't looked at her multipliers or her actual like skill description or whatever. But from what I hear, she's pretty good. People were. It might have just been for the thumbnail. It might have just been for the hype of like getting clicks or whatever. But people were comparing her to Miyabi in terms of like how strong she is. But looks like once the dust has settled, we kind of saw for what it was, and it was just hype. Um, Obviously, Miyabi's still better than she is. In terms of supports, it's interesting to see Jifufu down. I mean, this is correct. I personally, if you're gonna ask me, Jifufu should never have been up here to begin with. Like the fact that this red arrow is here is dumb. She should never have been higher than 0.5. I personally, I would put her down here, in tier one. But that's just me. This character, I don't know. If you pulled for her, I'm sorry for you. Like it, for one, she got straight up power crept by Dial-In. Imagine getting every time you ult, you get 300 decibel refund. That's like a 10% of an ult. She gives you 10% of an ult every time you ult. Dial-In gives you a free ult every stun cycle. It's like ridiculous. Like in a match, in a deadly assault, you get like 2 free ults out of her. In a deadly assault, you get like 600 decibels out of her. You know what I mean? Like, and then her daze potential. I haven't used her enough. I used her in Hollow Zero, and it's just not fun. She's not very good. I don't know. I don't like her. I think she should be way lower, but I don't have her, so I can't really say anything. And I haven't done a lot of research into her. I haven't tried to min max her. None of that. But I just don't think she's worth doing that for. So I don't know. I think she should be a lot lower. Lighter's here. He's good. He deserves to be here. Fire and Ice, some of the best units in the game, and they can use them. Nicole, I think me and most everybody who has like eyes and a brain have been saying Nicole's fantastic. So I'm glad to see her in tier 0.5. The expert tag is kind of funny. I mean, I guess you could say you kind of need some skill with her, but I wouldn't even say expert. I would just say like competency. You know what I mean? Like just like if you can play the game at a decent level, that's all it requires. It just requires you to like use her well, right? You don't have to be like, you know, 200 APM or some, crazy no life to like use Nicole. You just have to like be barely comp. But I guess that the problem is like most players just log in, do their dailies and leave. So I don't know. The expert tag is kind of interesting, but yeah. So I think Nicole should be here. Uh, Sokaku's here only because of Miyabi, and I'm pretty sure people are probably not like she's only here for mono ice, right? And I'm pretty sure, yeah, I don't know. Like it's just weird that like Miyabi is carrying her all the way up to tier 0.5. I'd probably put her down here, because for those of you who know, it says niche characters. This means they have one role, right? The fact that Sokaku her only role is to be mono ice with Miyabi, I think that's like the definition of niche, right? She's good in that niche. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, I don't know why she's up here. But that's just me. Um, then obviously Trigger. I think, yeah, I guess I would probably agree with Trigger being here. She's too specific to like to Sambi. Other people can use her too. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, she just her best place is with Sambi ultimately, and Sambi's just not like amazing. Again, we're at tier 0.5. These are all amazing characters. They're the best of the best. But yeah, they're not like they don't stand out as like, oh, everyone they're so good, everything else is like being oppressed by them. So it is what it is. But yeah, I agree with most of these slots. I just don't agree with Sokaku still being here. It's really annoying. Again, Jifufu down. Everything else is fine. Meta characters. It's kind of sad. I'm telling you, it's sad to see Jane and Piper on the same tier. Um, yeah. So kind of goes without saying, Jane's fallen off pretty hard since she was released. Her crits aren't cutting it. Um, it's not really, yeah, that's all. Um, I think this is a good placement for her. Funnily enough, this guy's been pretty good. He's also he's better than Soldier 11 just based off the fact that he doesn't interact with defense because he's a rupture unit. He just penetrates defense 100%, right? So that's why he's here, above Soldier 11. Soldier 11 is getting buffed soon, hopefully. So hopefully we'll see him, see her, at least see her here, right? I don't want to see her maybe. She doesn't have to be above Minato. She probably should be, but I don't know how you're going to do that without boosting her up here. And they're not going to buff Soldier 11 higher than tier 1, right? Um, it's interesting that Hugo fell off so hard, but again, Hugo's competing with Miyabi. He's competing with Yidari, and both of those are stronger than Hugo. It's at the very least he's better than Ellen Joe, which that's take that for what it's worth. Which is the other thing is kind of sad that Ellen Joe got a buff. She got really good, and she still fell off so hard that even Jane is better than she is. You know what I mean? Like that's the saddest part to me. Because we're probably not going to get another Ellen Joe buff soon. So it makes me wonder how these buffs are going to go because you kind of want them to buff the unit enough that they get boosted up and then they can kind of stay there. Because if they're just going to get buffed up just to get left behind again, it's like, what was the point of buffing them to begin with, right? Like Ellen Joe, I mean, I don't want to spoil the list. I haven't seen it all, but Ellen Joe is down in the same place she was before she got buffed. And it didn't even take that long for her to get back there. You know what I mean? Like, it is what it is. Um, but yeah, so Jujuan is still pretty good, especially for being what? The second 5-star to be released, the second 5-star damage dealer. The fact that she is competing with like one of the later ones is still pretty good. Not to mention, Hugo also has like a dedicated support in terms of lighter, and Jujuan is still competing with Hugo. You know what I mean? So that's pretty cool. I don't have Jujuan. I don't really care about her, but for those of you who like Jujuan, there she is. I think she should be there. Anomaly, Bernice, again, it's sad that Bernice is like so far down. Again, these are still meta characters, so you can clear all the content with these guys, but don't just. It'd be nicer if she was better. But the problem is like her position overlaps with Vivian so much that it's like, what are we gonna do with her? You know what I mean? Like how could we possibly bring her up to snuff, right? But whatever. But yeah, she's getting buffed, so I predict she's just gonna sit here. Um, I don't think she's gonna be on the same level as Vivian, but I could be wrong. Who knows? Then now we're going into stunners and supports. Um, I think these are all pretty good. Um, it's interesting to note for those of you that Pulchra is on the same level as Chingy. Chingy, I think she has a stun damage multiplier. Let's see. Level whatever. Perfect dodge applies. So stacks of subjugation is 20. Stun damage multiplier is increased by 4% per stack. So that's what, an 80% damage multiplier? What else did she have? She had something else. More days. More attack. Okay. So yeah, this is the main thing is the 80% stun damage multiplier, if I'm reading this correctly. But anyway, the point being is that while she's a fast stunner, having that 80% during the stun window is great, but having a 30% over the entire course of the match is probably just better, right? From Pulchra. Not to mention, if Pulchra's your only stunner, I run Pulchra on Astral Voice because I also have another stunner with her. But if you're running as your only stunner, not only are you getting a 30% damage buff to your entire team, but you're also getting a 30% crit damage buff to your entire team, which again, Chingy can run too, but she's free to play, right? So I don't know. It's interesting. But yeah, I agree with this positioning here and all this stuff. He's really just the best support for all sheer damage, all rupture agents until you get Lucia. But yeah, so it's interesting that they're on the same tier because yeah, obviously in my team I replaced Pan Yinhe with Pulchra because she can do what he does, but more broadly. So that's pretty cool. Went on tier 1.5. Again, sucks to see Ellen down here. I can't agree or disagree. I don't have her, but It makes sense. I haven't seen her very much, and there's just too many other units that are doing too many better things. Like Miyabi again is still just as strong as she's always been. Uh, Yadari, she's the new hotness, so she's going to be up here in the high tiers for a while. And then Hugo was came right after her, or not right after, but he's like the next ice unit damage dealer after her. So it is what it is. Well, technically Miyabi was, but you know what I mean. Like the next kind of normal one, Miyabi's a Void Hunter. She's kind of in a class of her own. Um, Haramasa, I think, used to be higher. Like I said, he's a free. They gave him to us for free, so he's kind of chilling where they want him to be chilling. Um, I think he's another candidate. I think so. The people getting she got buffed already. So the next people getting buffed are Bernice, Soldier 11, and I think Rena. Who else was there? Yeah, I think it was Rena. The next wave of buffs, personally, I think should be someone like probably Jane, Harumasa, and probably Caesar. That's who I would assume. That's who I would guess. Oh no, it's Bernice. The buffs that are coming are Bernice, Soldier 11, and Grace, which I that's pretty cool. The next round, personally, I think should at least be Harumasa and Caesar. The question is, who do we buff in conjunction with them? Um, it could. I feel like it's a coin toss between Jujuan and Jane Doe. I think Jujuan probably first, just because Jane Doe came out after her. But I think the fact that Dialin exists means that we can hold off on buffing Jujuan and do an anomaly unit instead. But that's the way I look at it. Um, yeah, I don't know. Like I said, at the very least, these two are kind of in line to get buffed at some point. But yeah, I think that they're exactly where they should be. It's funny that Caesar's so bad that Lucy is on par with her, because Caesar doesn't do anything that like defense. First of all, defense is already lacking. The defense class is like, who cares, right? Like they don't do anything. They're just like they're no different from a support unit, and which is showcased right here because they're the same level. All she does is give out 1,000 attack, a 30% and a 30% damage buff, and then if you get her weapon, it gives her 18% impact, which means you stun quicker. Um, More shield. Oh, that's the other thing. She has a shield, but like, who cares? Like, nobody gets hit in this game. I mean, you do sometimes, but it's irrelevant unless you get comboed, and then whatever. But again, the shield is nobody cares about the shield. Um, on top of that, like I said, the her weapon gives her the shield buff plus the 18% damage buff, and then the 12% daze. Um, which whatever. Like, okay, you stun a little bit faster, you do more damage. So in total, you have an 30 plus the 18 is 48% damage buff. Plus, if you're running her on like the what are you running her on? Maybe the quick assist one, Astral Voice, or what's that? Protopunk, right? Astral Voice or Protopunk. If you're running Protopunk, it's 40. You're doing 48% damage buff plus the Protopunk's damage buff is 58, 63% damage buff, right? Okay, cool, whatever. But Lucy, the fact that they just released the Moonlight Lullaby means that Lucy's giving out an 18% damage buff that stays up for the entire match. Her Kaboom the Cannon gives her 16% attack buff to everybody. Plus, she gives out 600 attack from her core passive, and she gives everybody energy, which means more damage because the damage dealer has more energy to do EX specials, and it means more stuns because the stunner has more energy to do EX specials. So like I said, it's just nothing that Caesar does is ever really worth it. Not to mention, like again, half of her usefulness is from the weapon, and you can just take the weapon and give it to someone else. Like Pan Yinhe with her weapon is ridiculous. Like, and not to mention, theoretically, we're getting Zhao in the future for free. And there you go. There's a you can run her now. That saves you a weapon for Zhao. Zhao's weapon is probably going to end up being better, but doesn't matter. I'm not gonna pull for that weapon because I have Caesar's weapon. But yeah, Lucy, and not only that, if you have Lucy's Mindscapes, her buff gets extended like crazy, and then she also gives out a 10% crit damage buff, which is good. I don't know. It's just Lucy's really good. I wish I had more reason or opportunities to use her, but there's just no team where I can have her in. My attack scaling. This is a health. I only have 3 teams. I have a Yishuan team, Sambi team, and a Jane Doe team. I had a Soldier 11 team, but Soldier 11 got replaced by Monado, and Monado is a health scaling unit. So nobody can use Lucy, which, that kind of sucks, but whatever. You know what I mean? What are you going to do about it? It'd be cool to have more places to use Lucy, but it is what it is. And then lastly, Rena. Um, if we had more access or better access, or just, I don't know, if pen ratio was more in the meta, Rena would be a lot better. The problem is pen ratio isn't really in the meta, because whenever you would need pen ratio, you would just say, well, I kind of need a high pen ratio, but do I? Because I could just run Monado and penetrate defense 100%. You know what I mean? Or again, most people probably have Yishuan. So that's the same thing, right? So unfortunately, pen ratio isn't really in the meta right now. Not to mention, it's hard for other units to get a lot of pen ratio. The only pen ratio main stat weapon is Fusion Compiler, which is Grace's weapon, an anomaly weapon. If they give out a free to play like 4-star pen ratio attacker weapon for 4 stars for attackers, like 20% in the main stat, it'd be ridiculous. Like it'd be fantastic. Like I wouldn't make her broken or anything, but I think it would boost her up a little bit, just because now that gets you close to like what 95%, at least 90% pen ratio, which is really good for most units, right? But anyway, so that's that. Like I said, the other problem is she boosts electricity, and who cares? You know what I mean? Like it sucks to say, but like who cares? But yeah, so that's that. And then again, we're at the end of the tier 2. Like Soldier 11's barely scraping by with her buffs. I kind of foresee her just going up to here. But it is what it is. Kaleda's actually a better, like, people sleep on Kaleda. She's actually a better stunner. She's actually one of the best stunners. I have to say, she's one of the best stunners. However, the problem is we're in the age where like stunners aren't just stunners; they're also support units. It's the whole reason why Pridwin doesn't have stun section anymore. They have primary DPS, secondary DPS, and support, because stunners and supports, their roles have fused so much that it's just a straight stunner like Kaleda can't compete in this game right now, because Kaleda's the best stunner, but you know what I mean? Like, who cares about whether she can stun when you've got Trigger stunning maybe a little slower, but also giving a team-wide 30% damage boost for the entire course of the match, plus 25% defense shred if you're running her weapon, like, again, Poker, a free-to-play unit. If you get her to max Mindscapes, she gives out a free 30% damage buff to the entire team, just casually for free, right? Like, not to mention her ult is like, melts through people's bars, like their daze bars. So, like I said, Kaleda's more a victim of the fact that the stunner the stunner role as just being a stunner is kind of been phased out, and we're getting, like Dial-In is the ultimate culmination of like a unit that's barely a stunner. Like the fact that she's a stunner is a bonus to everything else she does. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's kind of that. And then we're down here at niche characters. This all, like, again, I do think Kaleda's better than all these units. As much as like, what's his name? EO? Yeah, EO. As much as EO liked Seth, and I like Seth. I think Jane Seth was probably, I don't know. If Seth was better, I would use Seth over Vivian. Problem is, Vivian like just blows him out of the water, and you kind of have to like to make Jane more meta relevant. You had to upgrade to Vivian eventually. But yeah, if it was between, if like Seth was as good as Vivian, and I had to choose which kid I would go with, I would choose Seth 100% of the time. Like, there's no question. Seth is hella fun to play. He's very good if you're skilled to do all his like animation cancels and everything. He's fantastic. The problem is the numbers aren't there, and unfortunately that's necessary. You need the numbers, right? But yeah, like I said, I think Seth is where he should be. Seth actually holds on like better than he should. You know what I mean? If anything, I might put Seth like right here. Yeah, I think I'd put him. Well, in the meta bracket, yeah, he's not very meta. If you're running any anomaly unit, like if you're doing like Grace, Seth, he's still pretty good in that team. Not great, but decent. Or if you're running like Yanagi and you need an anomaly support, because the only like The only anomaly supports are all 5 stars. So if you want to main Yanagi, your only options are Bernice, which you're not going to pull for Bernice because Vivian just power creeps her. So you're going to pull for Vivian, or you're going to pull for Yuzuha. Those are the only like they're all 5 stars, right? So what do I do if I need a support for my anomaly unit? Well, Seth is here, and the fact that he's here as an option, I think he deserves to be right here because he's just fantastic. Like he just gives out too many buffs to be like, oh, he's worthless, right? But that's the way I look at it. Again, I'm not like EO where I'm going to put him all the way up here. He just doesn't have the numbers to support being up here. At the very least, he needs to be in here because again, he is the meta for anomaly units. Like if you have Jane and you don't have anyone else, like you don't have another 5 star, like you're gonna use Seth, right? He's irreplaceable, you know. So that's the way that is. But like take like anomaly units again. I'm gonna harp on this a little more, but like if you have Jane or Yanagi, between running Lucy, like let's look at all our free to play options. Well, I guess this one's not too bad. Maybe this one too. Yeah, I can see them doing decent. But yeah, like you just the point is there's no anomaly supports that are free to play other than Seth, and what Seth does for being free to play is pretty darn good, I think. But that's just me. Um, yeah, Grace, I think her buffs. I personally, given the fact that Yuzuha and Vivian exist, I think when Yuzuha gets buff, Grace gets buffed, she might jump up to like here. I think. Um, my issue is that like with her, I think the highest she can go is probably here or here. But I think she might be, getting skyrocketed. I think she with her buffs is gonna go here. Depending on how Ellen, because Ellen has a little bit more buffs coming, she's gonna get a little bit of stat increases. If those stat increases are decent, she'll go up here. Soldier 11 will sit here. But if those stat increases aren't, I think the highest she's gonna go is here. I think the point I'm trying to make is that Soldier 11 is not gonna go higher than Ellen Joe. So yeah, but I think she has a potential to either sit here or here, go up 2 tiers. But I don't know. We'll see how the buffs go. Anton, I don't know. I've never seen an Anton user. I've seen a lot of Billy mains, right? A lot of Corrin mains. I've never seen an Anton user, so I don't know. It's wild to me that Anton. Like I said, I've never played Anton. I don't know anything about Anton. Just from a face value, from a I know nothing value, it's crazy that somebody would put Anton on the same level as Nekomata. But that's like I said, that's just me. I don't know anything about Anton. Like I said, I know there's a lot of Billy mains out there. Corrin mains, I haven't seen that many, but I have seen more than Anton mains. Like I said, I've seen 0 Anton mains. But yeah, so I think these are all in the right position. Like I said, him maybe a little higher, but it's hard to justify him. And lastly, the last two, Ben no longer has any use outside of being a meme primary DPS and has a meme primary DPS. Like if he didn't have that role, I think he'd be like down here somewhere, like off the list. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So that's how much of a joke Ben is. And sadly, regular Ambi got kind of power crept here, unbelievably. She was never even a very good stunner from the beginning of the game, let alone now that we have stunners that are like boosting people through the roof. Like a stunner, we now have a stunner that's better than most supports in the game. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy. I guess as a last thing, there are rumors that we might be getting a 5-star Billy at some point or a 5-star Nicole at some point. As a last thing, I would just like to say it'd be interesting to see these roles changed, right? What I mean is like Sambi or regular Ambi was a stunner. When we got her 5-star version, we got her as an attack unit. Because Nicole is a support unit, I would like to see her fulfill a different role. Or let's just use her as an example, right? Because we already got a classic character in the attack role, and Nicole's already a support, that means there's only one. Well, there's 2 classes left. She could either be a defense unit, which they're not going to do because it's dumb, or a stun unit. So I would like to see Nicole, her 5-star version, be a stun unit. I think that'd be pretty cool to see how that goes. Again, now the other thing with the Billy, right, is following that same logic. Billy's not going to go from attack to attack because what's her name? Because Nicole's the only place Nicole. the only place for Nicole to go is to be a stunner. If we're following this kind of like silly pattern, that means that Billy, his 5-star version might be a support. You know what I mean? It'd be pretty cool. I think the problem is people are going to be pissed if they can't main Billy, right? So I think if Billy gets a 5-star, he's probably going to be an attacker. Um, or what they might do is they might make Billy like a anomaly or something. You know what I mean? Like that'd be kind of interesting. But yeah, at the very least, I think it'd be fun to see Nicole be a stunner. Like I would love to use Nicole as a stunner, as a 5-star stunner. But I don't know. It just depends. Like I said, I'm curious to see where they go. Like I said, for the sake of novelty, I would like them to do off type, right? So whatever type they are, make them something else. So the way we got, the way Ambi was a stunner, and she got made into an attacker. I'd like to see Billy get released as something other than an attacker. Like I said, personally, the direction I would go is I would love to see a support Billy. Um, yeah, it'd be really funny too because it's not, you really shouldn't do this, but you can run her as an attacker and then have like Ambi as a stunner. And the same thing with Billy. So maybe you can have Billy as your main attack DPS, and then have the new support 5-star Billy be a support for this Billy, and there you go. Fantastic. But yeah, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see that. Yeah, like I said, that was my closing thought. I would love to see if they do end up releasing the 5-star versions of the 3 original, like the Cunning Hairs. I would like to see support Billy and a stun Nicole. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. But I guess that's everything. Is there anything else? No. The other thing is, a lot of people kind of lament the loss of like not having combos anymore, right? Because um, obviously she has combos that she can do with Ben, but I'm kind of happy they don't have them because it would make it so that like imagine like people already it already sucks now having to pull for a unit and then having to pull for their weapon. Imagine if they kept doing this and now it's like I have to pull for this unit plus this unit's weapon and then I have to pull this other unit to get the maximum out of this unit's kit. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. That's just my take on that. I'm kind of like on the one hand it kind of sucks that we don't have it, but on the other hand I'm like, well, that's good because I think the alternative could be a lot worse. But yeah. So anyway, that's just like I said. You guys can't see it, but I'm doing air quotes right now. A quick tier list overview and just kind of discussion. Um, I think the tier list is looking pretty good this time around. Um, Nothing too crazy or no super weird hot take for no reason. The only thing I would do, I guess, that's maybe a little controversial is probably get rid of this 1.5 tier and combine. I think that might be what ends up happening. I think when Soldier 11 gets her buffs, we're gonna lose the tier 1.5 and then merge these into one and then just have these 3 on the same tier. Then maybe either put her on the same tier with these or just drop her down to like down here, something like that. But yeah, like I said, I think this separation between these 2 tiers doesn't need to be here, especially because only 2 in this tier, right? Just like I said, just buff her, put her here, and there you go. Now we have two tiers in this the same way we have 2 tiers here. But I think the fact that like first of all, let's talk about the balance between the different tiers. The fact that this is there's so few characters down here is a good thing, right? And not to mention, these are all free to play units, right? As much as it sucks that the free to play units aren't better, at least it's good that the free to play units aren't worse. Or, no, what's the word? Like, it's good that the units you pay for aren't worse, is what I meant to say. Sorry about that. So yeah, okay. Like I said, it kind of sucks that these free to play aren't better, but at least you didn't pay for Ellen and now she's like sitting down here, right? She's still meta, she's still usable. You can still clear content with her. So that's what I'm happy about. Because if you look at, I think HSR or like Genshin, like there's a lot of 5-stars down here in this area. Well, actually, let's go look at it real quick, just for the sake of. I don't know a lot of the HSR characters. I know some of them, but not enough. Let's go look at Genshin's thing real quick. Is it Genshin even on here? I'm losing my mind. I don't know what's going on. My gosh, dude, I'm choking it. Where is Genshin not here? Wow, I literally think Genshin's not here, unless I'm just stupid. Yeah, it's not here. That's actually kind of crazy. Etheria Restart is here, but they don't have Genshin. Like HSR is right here. Oh my gosh, dude. I don't know the HSR characters, but let's go take a look at them real quick. Go look at the low tier. See, like, who's this guy? The only character I know in this game is Dr. Ratio. That's the only name I know. Him and My Day. Where's My Day at? This is just, I'm just memeing here. My Day is right here. Hey, look, she's right here. Where's the Emiya? I know Casterus and I know Kafka. Kafka, wow. Wow, Kafka's like Apex? Well, that's on different game modes. Oh, Kafka's fantastic. Casterus is here. That's interesting. Anyway, I was gonna look at the Genshin thing, but apparently, where? What do you mean it's not here? I guess. I wonder why. That's kind of interesting. Let's go look at. Let's just. The other game I play is this one. So let's take a look at this one. How's our low tier doing? Yeah, see, they're all free to play. That's good. At least you don't spend. Whoa, what the? Wow, all the Brent users are taking L's. Oh, it's because he's the main. That doesn't matter. But you know what I mean? Like, wow. But he was given away for free as well. So, whatever. That's fine. Anyway, let's go back to what I was talking about. The point being that at least he didn't pay for anything, and now it's like falling off so hard. The meta, this is kind of where most characters should be. The fact that like they're all up here is kind of like they're trying to sell you them. So obviously they're all whatever. But I think for the health of the game, most of them should be here. And there's a decent amount here, and whatever. But I think the fact that there's so many up here is where I think actually, you know what? It should be more like here. They should be between this tier from here up to here. And I think the fact that most of them are here is pretty good, right? Not to mention yeah. So let's take a look at who's up here. I have about half the characters here. So I have half the DPSs, I have half the secondary DPSs, and I have half the supports, which, is pretty good, right? That's kind of what you want. Like, if you're looking at like how to balance your account to keep up with the meta, this is kind of what you want to do. You want to half of the time summon what you want, but the other half of the time you really need to save and pay attention to the meta and save for that, because otherwise, like, if you don't have any of these characters up here, you're gonna struggle. You're really gonna have to, like, I don't know, just like I said, you're gonna struggle trying to keep up with everything, because I don't know how high. Like I said, if I had none of these characters and I only had like these, I think it'd be hard to get 9 stars every week and then fill out the complete Shiyu defense. So, like I said, I think most characters should be here. It's nice to have good, strong characters. So it's be like, if you like Miyabi, it's nice to have like your final form. It's like, oh, maybe I have Yidari or I have Alan as my ice. It's like, oh man, these guys can't cut it. Well, it's time to whip out the final form and drop Miyabi. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, maybe my Jujuan isn't doing as good as she could. Well, let's whip out the final form and use Yishuan, right? So it's good to have some up here, and I think what we have up here is good. The supports were meant to be here. The stunner is just kind of an anomaly because of how fused the stun and support roles are getting. These two, I think, are, again, she really shouldn't be here, but whatever. She's fine here. I think we need one more here as a secondary DPS. I think she just put here just for the sake of it, just because she's the only other secondary DPS. She does a lot. She's really good. It's just, I don't know, whatever. But yeah, so like I said, the fact that most characters are here is pretty good. Just pay attention to this and keep an eye on this and realize that, again, if you want to stay up to date and making sure you're getting all your polychrome that they give out for free, is you're going to have to pull for some of these, whether you like it or not. If you don't want to pull them, again, you're free to do so. Just realize there's consequences, right? That means you can't do everything you want. So yeah, I think the fact that most characters are here is pretty good. This is most of the fun characters too. Like, okay, it sucks that like Kaleda's not higher, but it is what it is. Like, nobody really likes using Kaleda anyway. I like using Kaleda, but I mean, I replaced her as soon as I got Dial In, so maybe I didn't like her as much as I should, right? But it is what it is. But anyway, like I said, I tried to end this a while ago and I got distracted on a tangent. But the point being that I think the game is in a pretty good place. The tier list is kind of showcasing that. You don't have to, like, there's not like, you can kind of keep up. Like I said, with only summoning half of these, you'll be fine. And I think Yixing Wang is coming, right? So she's going to be right here in this slot. I predict, so for one, I think Yixing Wang is going to be here. Um, Banyue, people are saying he's taking a lot of skill to play, so I think he's going to end up, at the very least, he's going to end up here. I don't foresee him going too low. I think there's just not going to be a lot of people who are interested in playing Banyue. Especially like he's in such a weird place because right now we have the best stunner in the entire game that just got released. Banyue is coming, and then after him is Yexingwang. So like everybody's blowing all their load right now for this stunner to get her. No one's gonna summon for Banyue, and then they're all gonna save for Yexingwang. So like I don't understand. What they should have done, and it's kind of cruel, but what they should have done was release Banyue first, then dial in, and then people have to decide whether they want dial in or they want Yexing Wang, right? But that's just what I. If they wanted to maximize their money, I feel like that's probably the way to do it. Because right now, no one's gonna pull for Banyu, and no one cares. Like it's gonna be such a dry spell for them. I don't really know how they're gonna, what that whole thing is, but yeah. But yeah, I think that's more or less everything. Well, I'll see you guys in the next video. The next video should be like a dial-in overview, kind of recap, and just should you pull type of video. But I don't know. We'll see, depending on how that goes.